Well, I spoke at the top of the show about the hypocrisy that exists in the world in so many different fields, including in war. Now, this week we've witnessed the horrific Russian missile attack on Ukraine's largest children's hospital. Now, unbelievable, appalling, even the thought of it. Yet no one protesting on the streets. Not that I saw. Not one march. Not one banner. Not one I Stand With Ukraine post on Instagram, that I can see anyways. John Spencer, a retired US Army officer and chair of urban warfare studies at the Modern War Institute, has consistently highlighted the double standards we're seeing in modern warfare. And I'm so pleased to say he joins me now from Colorado. John, first of all, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for coming on my show. Why the lack of outrage around the world regarding what Russia did when we look at something that Hamas claimed Israel had done regarding a hospital there that turned out to be a lie? They lied about the number of people hurt, and it felt like the whole world was outraged.
On many realms, social media in the world, on where they put their attention and what war crimes or what travesty is even warped into their attention. Yeah, I think in many respects the world has gone crazy. But the war crimes that Russia has committed in Ukraine, we need a full mini series from the bombing of a theater in Mariupol to the bombing of a children's cancer hospital just this week. Yes.
So why does this double standard exist? And I guess the first question is, what is the double standard?
I mean, I can't explain some people's ignorance to the world, let alone war. In the case of Russia, the misunderstanding of everything that it's done, from unjust war to unjustly execution. And on the other side, you have Israel viciously attacked in full accordance with international law, responds very discriminately, and is held to not even a double standard, but a standard that doesn't exist. I know the origin of the ideals of what people think war can happen, but Israel, as legitimately, people have tried to use a standard such as zero casualties, zero civilian casualties in your war. Go ahead and fight and defend yourself, but just no civilian casualties, or don't use these bombs and these munitions. It's a standard that doesn't exist.
So when it comes to what Israel is doing now, you're not only incredibly experienced yourself, having served and twice in Iraq, but urban warfare is your trade now, basically. You're more experienced in this than anyone else.
Based on studying urban warfare for over a decade, let alone my own experiences, is that they have executed this operation very discriminately and actually have figured out a way within this double, triple standard doesn't exist to still accomplish the mission in an environment that no military, and again, urban warfare is kind of my thing, no environment that any other military has been presented with in the history, the level of tunnels, the hostages, the rockets, this double standard. I've been into Gaza now 3 times. I just got back last week. The way that the IDF have taken everything the enemy has tried to do to include try to convince the world that they're the good guys. The fact that Israel has been able to still accomplish their goals very discriminately with a very low civilian casualty rate has been I've been amazed by it, by the fact of understanding everything that came before this war.
Dad wrote a book about his year in Iraq called Running the War in Iraq, and he obviously, didn't suffer from a lack of confidence. But one of the lines in that book, one of my favourite lines, is you stand for the rule of war or you stand for nothing. And what you just said then really hits home with that. I find it so difficult to understand the lack of moral clarity when it comes to this issue, and particularly when you imagine that this had happened somewhere else, per se America. How would America have reacted if October 7 had occurred on their land?
Absolutely, and I've gotten that question a bunch. What would America have done? And the head general of the U.S. military, the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff for 2 presidents, has answered that very straightforward. We would have responded with overwhelming force immediately to achieve our goals, like ensuring that not one rocket, since there's been 13,000 rockets that have been emanated out of Gaza, all war crimes, not targeting civilians, we would have made sure not a single rocket emanated out of enemy territory. We would have launched multiple divisions immediately into enemy territory to retrieve our hostages. And we would have also followed the law of war like Israel has, which has been the ignorance, the actual warping of that's what's so problematic here is like the law. I stand for the rule of law, the law of war, following them, and I really wish Russia would, and it refused, and it does so boldly, not following any law of war. But in this case, America would have followed the laws of war and achieved its goals very rapidly. But what the world has tried to force Israel to do, they don't realize one about all the lies, everything from using starvation as a form of warfare to controlling all aspects of, from space lasers to whatever. The use of the word genocide is it's so disgusting.